Hello again, welcome back to Asgard, and welcome back to our Betweenlands Spotlight tutorial series. Now today we've got kind of a lighter episode, but this is covering the Christmas update. I know it's a few days late, but of course with everything going on at Christmas, I didn't really get a chance to get over to this and check it out and then do the episode for it. With the Christmas update, there's a lot of just bug fixes, just minor things, a few small changes. We're going to be covering the main meat of the update. There is, like I said, there's a lot of little things, like some small texture changes so that things within the sludging dungeon or whatnot maybe match a little bit better. Little things like that you'll notice as you play. But we're going to be covering the big meat of the update. Now, first and foremost, I want to talk about sulfur torches. There was a major, very, very important change to these. So whenever you have a sulfur torch down, now bear in mind the textures, this is all Christmas event that's going on. As per expected, the Betweenlands does have the Christmas textures going at the moment. But if I had to turn it back since the winter event's going on. Snowfall doesn't trigger it. But we're going to turn back on heavy rain. Now you're going to notice that our sulfur torches here will very quickly get extinguished. So this is a new change where your sulfur torches, if they're not covered, if they're exposed to rainwater, they will get extinguished at a pretty decent rate. It's kind of chance you'll notice that these are still lit, but give them a minute and they will become extinguished. So all the more reason to either A, cover your torches, don't just leave them lying out or they're going to get extinguished the next time it rains. Or you can upgrade to a new light source that was added, which I absolutely love. There was a lot of really cool, well, I won't say a lot of, but there was a few really, really cool items, about 5, that were added with this update that make my day personally. They are a little bit more decorative, though they do have some uses as well. But we're going to go ahead and turn winter back on. You can see that it extinguished a few torches here. So all the more reason to now cover those. If you want to reignite those, though, worth noting, you can just take an octane ingot and just right-click that. You can see, even in survival mode, it's just a quick right-click to do that. You don't have to charge it up like you normally do. Just right-click it and it'll set it back on. So they're still useful. And, of course, when you're down in caves or something like that, they're not going to become extinguished. It's just the above ground that you're going to have to deal with, really. Or if you're underground, there's an exposed area to the sky. You will need to deal with those. Now, on that note, however, some new decorative items have been added. And these you can just cycle through. So what you would craft is the blank mate paper lantern, which is just slabs, paper panes, firefly, and some weepwood planks. So more reason to get out there and catch those fireflies with the net, with the addition of these lanterns. To be honest, I would suggest just carrying that net with you and catching all the fireflies that you can, because now that these can be extinguished, new light sources have been added in the form of these firefly lanterns. So we can just place these down, and there's a few different textures for these, you can see, and these are toggleable for the most part. For example, if we take the blank M8, we can make the checkered M8 paper lantern. Just by putting it into a crafting grid. If we put the checkered into a crafting grid, we can get the framed, and then the framed will turn then back into the blank M8 paper lantern. Now, if you want the really nice one, the silk glass lantern, this one requires silk glass instead of the M8 paper panes, as you might expect. And it does look absolutely gorgeous. These all look really, really good. This one is especially my favorite just because it does have that kind of that movement and that light that's coming out of there, and they emit light in a pretty good area. If we pop down into the caverns, you can see if we place these down, they do cover a fairly large area, and they're not terribly expensive, but they do require a little bit more effort than just whipping up a bunch of sulfur torches. So when you're underground, you'll probably still be using these, but when you're above ground, and especially if it's an exposed area, you may want to switch over to the lanterns, just so you have a light source that will not become extinguished whenever it rains. So I'm personally giving huge props to the Betweenlands dev team because I'm a huge sucker for lanterns. I think they look gorgeous, and they did a really, really good job on these. Also, I want to quickly mention that if you hang these like from a ceiling, you're going to see they do get a rope that comes off of them. They cannot be placed onto walls, though. So just a heads up on that. But all of these will have that rope that kind of hangs down, including the silk glass lantern. So just a heads up on that. You can hang them from ceilings and stuff, and they're going to look pretty good. Now, speaking of things hanging, another item was added, and that is the bobble. Now, this is really just a Christmas event item. Once Christmas is over, you will not see it till next year. But if you've been playing around during Christmas, you're going to see these on occasion. You will notice they emit a little bit of light, and there's going to be a few different colors of these that hang down, and you're only going to see them hanging down. They can't be on walls or on the ground. And if you break these, you're going to get a little bit of XP out of them. It's just a little Christmas thing that was added, and it does kind of liven up the trees and things like that as you're passing through. I have not noticed them to be super common, but they do look pretty cool, and Tails is probably going to feature a way to craft these because I just like them a lot. And I want them to be craftable and be able to be used for decoration, so you will be able to craft these within Tails. Now, moving on, another new item that was added is the wind chime. Now, this is another item that you're going to need to hang off of something. You can't place it on the ground or on walls, as you will probably expect. It is a wind chime after all. But if you hang this from something, you're going to see that it's just going to hang out. It's not going to do anything. But if we give it a little bit, it's going to emit kind of an aura around it, and it's going to activate. Now, what this does is it actually predicts weather. So if weather's incoming, so for example, a blood sky or rain or a heavy fog event or something like that, then this is going to detect it and let you know that, hey, this weather effect's coming up. It can take us a little bit. I don't know if I was to use commands if it would do anything. I haven't actually tried that, but it did. You can see right up here I was testing it, and it just popped on its own. But like, for example, if we do a dense fog event, okay, yeah, using commands, I don't think it's going to do anything. So I'm just going to hang out here, and I'll bring you guys back whenever a weather event happens. Okay, so you can see right there, they all just went off. There's no benefit to having multiples. I was just going to show you one thing. But you can see, if you look at this aura, you can see kind of a glimpse, sort of. It tends to be kind of hard to see. But if you look at this, it kind of looks like daylight. So it probably means that a rift event is coming up. If it's fog, you'll see like a lot of fog and stuff. And you will notice it doesn't show it in the winter version. It's going to show it kind of in the normal Betweenlands textures. But yeah, it looks like it's going to be a rift event. You can see the rifts up there running across. So that's what it's going to be. If it's fog, you'll see like a lot of fog. And then if it's rain, you'll see rain. Different things. But you'll be able to kind of predict the weather. Blood sky is going to be really, really red. Very easy to notice. And that's going to be basically the next weather effect. And if we give it a little bit, it will then turn into a rift event. I find that it's usually a few minutes or so from what I've seen, but that's how that works. Pretty straightforward. And I wanted to show you, just as an example, you can place these on the bottom of tree leaves, which is really awesome. So you can kind of use these for decoration. And as far as their cost, they're not that expensive. Orange Gentrithus probably being the worst part, but once again, that's really not that bad. You tend to get a lot of this just from dungeon loot and stuff, and you will need to get up to the point where you have ancient remnants. Once again, not a big deal. Now, I do want to mention, since we kind of mentioned dungeon loot, there is a couple changes to the way that life crystals work. First up, if you recall, in recent history, life crystals were showing up in dungeon loot, like in chests and things. And it was like an age of plenty for life crystals. That's no longer the case, kind of. A new item has been added called Life Crystal Fragment. Now, this is going to replace all life crystals that you would have gotten from chests. It's also going to replace the life crystals that would have dropped from Barashes. And pretty much any way that you're going to get life crystals outside of mining. You can still get the full life crystal from mining, But these life crystal fragments they're still usable just like a normal life crystal in all ways. The only difference is you are not going to be able to recharge these. Whereas these you can recharge. So just kind of a heads up there. We throw that in there. Oh, that's a normal life crystal. But we throw the fragment in there. You can see our power on this. That. You will notice it doesn't have as much power also as a normal life crystal, about 50% compared to a full life crystal, and it can't be recharged. Oh, and you can see there's another event that it has found. That's going to be snowfall. You can see the little bits of snow falling there. So a snowfall event is going to be coming up before too long for us. Now, the last thing, a couple things to mention, just quick. Well, one thing in particular, there was a few advancements added. I'm not going to go over all of them. But basically, there's one for doing a bunch of item scrolls through the animator. There's another one for, a wind chime predicting the weather. Just little things like that. And you can just check, of course, the advancement tab here to find out about those. But the last thing I want to mention is sound effects were added to Ash Sprites. So that is what an Ash Sprite sounds like. Previously they were completely silent creatures. So you'll be able to audibly know when one's nearby, and in addition, just add a little bit more atmosphere and stuff. Also, in addition, just a small little combat tweak that I wanted to mention because it does change up the way that Ash Sprite encounters may happen, may work out for you. Whenever you attack an Ash Sprite and you hit it, there is now a small delay before that Ash Sprite can go into a wall. So in the past they were kind of a nuisance to fight because you'd hit them and then they'd get knocked back into a wall and just keep going. Well, now you can actually kind of keep them in combat if you stay on top of them and keep hitting them. So just a small little combat tweak to them, but it will most likely make your life a little bit easier when it comes to fighting them. So I just wanted to make a quick mention of that. Now, like I said, there is a few other changes, bug fixes and things like that. I'm not going to go over all of them because they were just bugs and not really intended. But if you're interested in what all's there, you can just check the changelog. All of that's really self-explanatory and straightforward, so I'm not going to go over that. But yeah, so that pretty much covers the Christmas update. I just want to make a quick update video for that because there was a few things added, a few really nifty things, and the wind chimes and the lanterns, especially my personal favorites. They're awesome for building and they look great. Plus, wind chimes have that little effect that goes off when they predict Betweenlands weather. But yeah, so I just want to make a quick update video about that and about the update, the Christmas update. So once again, I know it's past Christmas. It's actually going to be New Year's in the next few days. But I do want to go ahead and say I hope everybody had a great Christmas. And I hope everybody has a great New Year as well. So with that, I'm going to end out this episode here. Once again, a really big thank you to the Betweenlands dev team and Triplehead Sheep especially for updating me as far as when new big updates come out. So big thank you to him and to the entire Betweenlands team for this absolute gem of a mod, I must say. Happy New Year, everybody. Goodbye 2020, worst year in history. And I hope to see you guys next time. Until then, as always, do take care, stay safe. I will see you guys then.